is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're doing a smackdown between two really comparable notebooks that are in a space where you don't find many like them. We have the Lenovo ThinkPad X230 over here, and we have the Sony VAIO S13.3 right over here. Now this is the premium model, and this one starts at $1,119. The base price for this guy is $799, but we're going to focus mostly on the premium and enhanced model features, which are $999 to, again, $1,119 starting price. And the ThinkPad starts at about $1,000, but ours has the IPS display, which is a $50 upcharge, not much. And that one would cost you, say, about $1050 to start with. And we'll get into configuration options and where the price goes as well. But first off, both of these are unusual because they're 13-inch class notebooks. Technically, the Lenovo is actually smaller. It's a 12.5-inch notebook, but they're not Ultrabooks. They have full Intel Core mobile CPUs, not ULV CPUs used in Ultrabooks. That means that they're faster for those people who need to do more demanding tasks. I'm not talking about word processing and surfing the web here, but you're using Adobe Creative Suite a lot. You're doing programming, development work, CAD, that kind of stuff. And you need more horsepower, some video editing, for example. Though these are not Ultrabooks, both of these machines are very light and portable. Obviously, they have small footprints. The VAIO has a little bit bigger footprint because it's 13.3 inches versus 12.5, and that's mostly in this length right here. And we'll stack them so you can see that in a minute. They weigh under 4 pounds. The Lenovo is about 3.4 pounds, and the Sony is 3.7 pounds. So they're very light and portable. A bit more than your average Ultrabook, which weighs 3 to 3.5 pounds, but again, you're getting more processing power. They both have backlit keyboards. The Lenovo is interesting. It has two-stage backlighting. You can control that via keyboard keys, and it still has the legendary Think light. So you've got the little LED light that can shine down on everything. This guy here has straight backlit keyboard. It uses the ambient light sensor to turn those on. And with the Sony, the backlight will stay on all the time if you're in a dark area. If it's plugged in, if you unplug it, it times out. When you hit a key, it turns back on. With the Lenovo, it stays on for long periods of time. Both of these are running on Intel 3rd generation Ivy Bridge CPUs, and the CPU options available are the same on both of these. You can get Core i5s at 2.5 gigahertz and stepping up to 2.6 gigahertz, and then there's a dual-core i7 option that brings you up to 2.9 gigahertz. Neither of these offers a quad-core i7 right now. Big difference between these two guys is integrated graphics versus switchable graphics on the Sony. The Lenovo runs on Intel HD 4000 graphics, which is a very capable integrated chipset, but it's not going to compare to better dedicated graphics. The Sony crosses over into that gaming multimedia video editing territory with Intel HD 4000 plus NVIDIA GeForce GT640M LE graphics with 1 gig of DDR3 RAM. So it definitely has more oomph if you want to play games. Watch our gaming video for this one to see how capable it is. It's really amazing for a 13-inch notebook what it can do. It does just as well as my NV15. On the other hand, Lenovo, well, you know, we have a gaming demo for that guy too, and you can play on low settings, things like Skyrim, some of today's more demanding games, but don't be thinking about Battlefield 3 here, for example. Integrated graphics just isn't going to cut it. So, big difference there. And for those of you who are not into gaming but you do video editing, the dedicated GPU can help speed up video editing tasks. The other big difference is the displays. The Lenovo is a 1366 by 768 display. We really wish they offered a higher resolution option, but they don't. And again, you can get it with a standard TN panel. Don't do that. And you can get it with IPS for $50 upcharge, and sometimes Lenovo actually throws that in for free. So, really nice IPS display here, matte finish. Good color gamut, not wildly great. Neither of these has wildly impressive color gamuts on. That doesn't mean they're not nice to look at, all that kind of thing, but for those of you who are graphics professionals or are looking for very wide gamut displays, neither of these is that. Lenovo has excellent contrast, obviously very wide viewing angles because it's an IPS display, and it gets pretty bright. It's about 300 nits of brightness. Now the Sony, for the premium model, it gets you a 1600 by 900 pixel display, so you pixel lovers are going to enjoy having more stuff see on the screen, more screen real estate available there. But this is a TN panel, and that means viewing angles are the typical TN kind of thing. You got to tilt it forward, tilt it back to find the sweet spot. Now it's better than your average, say, more budget-oriented to actually mid-class TN display insofar as the sweet spot's a bit wider on it, but it's still a TN display and it still has a limited sweet spot front to back. Sideways, pretty good. But you do get a lot of resolution here, and you also get a matte finish display here, so good plus on both of those. The next biggest thing would be the style thing and the thickness thing. Now, for some of you, you don't care what your notebooks look like. For others of you, you have strong preferences about that. The VAIO is thinner. The carbon fiber premium edition here is 0.9 inches, and it's the same thickness throughout the device as Sony's full flat design. The Lenovo actually has something of a taper. It's not a teardrop kind of shape, but it gets fatter in the back. It's considerably thicker at the rear. And it has that usual matte finish ThinkPad look. Now, if you're a ThinkPad person, you love that look probably. If you're not a ThinkPad person, you probably think it's deadly dull. So here we have them closed side by side. You can see the ThinkPad has a smaller footprint. The VAIO is longer going this way. And difference in finish and style. This one's kind of going for that fashionable, sleek, nice look. Carbon fiber lid, very pretty. ThinkPad matte finish here. And from the front, they look about the same in terms of thickness. ThinkPad is a little bit thicker, but it's not such a big deal. But let's turn them on their side. And now you see how much thicker the ThinkPad is here. Considerably. And now we have them stacked up together, so you can see the difference in thickness there. It's really amazing, actually. The ThinkPad is lighter, isn't it? Considering it looks so much more of a chunky monkey. Now, while we're looking at the side, let's talk about ports. Sony is a master of engineering a lot of stuff into a small space. They've been doing that since 10 years ago at least. And they actually fit an optical drive in here. You get a DVD burner standard. You can actually upgrade to a Blu-ray drive or a Blu-ray burner. There is no optical drive in the ThinkPad. So for those of you who need to have an optical drive on the road, keep that in mind. As we look at the ports, you can see we've got full-size VGA, HDMI, two USB 3.0 ports on the Sony, a USB 2.0 port with charging, and your Ethernet here, that's your charging jack. And on the Lenovo, we have VGA down here, mini display port, which I actually like over HDMI because it's more versatile. You can drive very large monitors, plug it into all kinds of things, and you can just get a mini display port to HDMI adapter for 20 bucks if you just want to use an HDMI anyway. Express card slot, for consumers not so important, maybe for business people, not too sure about that. One USB charging port here, 2.0, and we have our wireless hardware switch here. And as we flip them around, you can see Sony keeps all the ports on the right side. So here we just have our optical drive, well, one port. We have our headphone jack right here, 3.5 millimeter. And on Lenovo, we've got 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, our Ethernet, another USB port, high speed, and SD card slot. Now for the Sony, the SD card slot is here, and you get the memory stick slot because, well, it's Sony and they can't give up on their memory sticks. In terms of build quality, they're both put together very well. They both use their own sort of premium materials. It's carbon fiber over magnesium alloy on the Sony, and with the ThinkPad you get that rugged roll cage design. I mean, durability-wise, the ThinkPad is it, let me tell you. The Sony feels beautiful, thin, and light, but you don't get the feeling that you could, drop this on the floor and be okay. Now, maybe you could be, but it doesn't exude that kind of serious, hefty, strong kind of thing. And here's something about the Sony. It has the lid that torsions, because Sony designs it that way. You can see me wiggling it here. They put flex in so it bends without breaking, but this just freaks a lot of people out, that feature, and makes them feel like it's flimsy. Now, the ThinkPad, my God. Get on an airplane and you see business people dropping their ThinkPads right and left and just laughing and picking them up and keeping them using them. You can't kill this thing. It is solid, strong, even though it's not very heavy. Just, yeah. Also, the ThinkPad, they have their spill-resistant keyboard. It actually has drain holes underneath the keyboard that come out at the bottom here. So they say, well, if you spill your water on there, just shake it out, drain it out, let it dry out a little bit, and go ahead using it. Now, it doesn't mean you want to get something sticky in there, because it might gum up something, who knows, but another little bit of durability right there. In terms of keyboards, well, the ThinkPad keyboard is legendary, and this is an excellent keyboard with wonderful tactile feedback. Now, Sony's no slouch either, and this is also a very good keyboard. Funny thing is, it doesn't have that same level of tactile feel that makes you think, oh, I'm typing on this dreamy keyboard, but I find I type equally fast on either of these. A really good keyboard on the Sony that does hold up against the ThinkPad keyboard. In terms of trackpad, you get a giant buttonless trackpad here on the VAIO. Actually works quite well. ThinkPad is a more traditional but very small trackpad, and that might be a little small for some folks, and normal clicky buttons and the usual track point thing. You can see the difference in the depth of the keyboard deck here. Now some folks with bigger hands, guys, complain about the fact there's not much of a place to rest their hands here. This is a bigger area, obviously. In terms of thermals, they both run, relatively speaking, fairly cool. Unless they're working hard, then they both have a hot spot that can exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which gets toasty to the touch, but both of them, given the kind of finish material they use, it doesn't feel burningly hot like a metal laptop would. In terms of configuration options, both of these come with hard drives, standard regular spinning hard drives. You get a 7200 RPM 320 gig hard drive, kind of small, but at least it's fast on the ThinkPad. And this starts out with a 640 gig 7200 RPM hard drive. The Sony does. That's for the premium model. If you're looking at, say, the enhanced model, which has a 1366 by 768 resolution display, then you're looking at a 5400 RPM drive, which you can change if you're doing a build to order on Sony's website, but that's the standard. And that enhanced model, by the way, is $999. Both of these have Wi-Fi 802.11bgn, single band. You can order the ThinkPad with dual band if you want. Mobile broadband is optional on the ThinkPad. It is not an option, at least not in the US, on the VAIO model. They both have Bluetooth. The Sony has Bluetooth 4.0 high speed versus 3.0 on the ThinkPad. Now you can order both of these with SSD drives. Lenovo has a 128 gig and a 180 gig, which is a fast drive option, and that's $480 upcharge. That's a lot of money for a 180 gig hard drive. With Sony, you can get 128, 256, or even 512 gig SSDs. And relatively speaking, Sony's SSD options are a little bit more affordable. Now, both of these are actually pretty easy to open up and upgrade. So if you just want to pop in your own SSD after the fact, you can do that. One more thing about SSDs, though. Sony's SSDs are different from what you're going to be buying if you go to the store yourself and get, say, a Samsung PM830 or a Crucial M4 drive. It uses a RAID configuration. You get two SSDs in a RAID 0 configuration, so you get actually better speeds than you would from any other SSD on the market that you're going to buy. Kind of a neat thing. Same thing they do with the Sony VAIO Z. Anyway, you can access the hard drive on both of these. It's not very difficult to do at all. The Lenovo has 2 DIMM slots. The Sony has 1 DIMM slot because the Sony has 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM soldered to the motherboard. Both of these are good for road warriors because they have good battery life on the road, especially for such powerful machines. Each of them is good for about 6 hours on a charge, and when I say that for Lenovo, that's with the 6-cell battery that we have installed here that you can see sticks out a little bit. And they both have larger battery options. The Sony, of course, uses the sheet-style battery that clamps onto the bottom. So that's our Lenovo ThinkPad X230 versus Sony VAIO S 13.3 Premium Smackdown comparison. And the interesting thing is, like I said, there are just not many notebooks in this group here where you have a lot of power in a very small size. So they're as different as they could be, considering that they share that in common. The Lenovo is built like a tank, made for rugged travel. It has a lovely IPS display. High resolution's not there. Dedicated graphics is not there either. They're not looking for the video editing professional, I would say, with this machine particularly, and they're not looking for gamers too much at all, other than once in a while on the road you're desperate, you don't mind playing at low settings kind of thing. And the Sony is really more for the multimedia person, I think. Even though Sony says that this is a business notebook, and certainly you can use it for business, it really shines for video editing, for gaming, for things like that. And the higher resolution display is great because it gives you more screen real estate. Sadly, the quality isn't as good as the Lenovo's because, well, it's not IPS. You have viewing angle issues there. In terms of black levels, by the way, also the Lenovo has better black levels. Not that the Sony is terrible, but... And of course, the Sony has that optical drive built in, again, handy for gamers because you got to install those games from discs often enough still, and for anybody who needs to burn discs on the road. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to watch our video reviews of each of these machines and read our written reviews, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.